right, here we go. Today is day 27 of the individuation process for the 31 days of October. And today, since we're getting more so like towards the end of this process, it's kind of like time for like reflection and everything. So the question to ask the self is, what are 5 things that I've learned about myself in this process? And as I have learned about individuation and everything, the way that my upbringing and everything that I experienced growing up was, drastically different from how I am now and everything, and how I decide to separate myself from people and stuff, and just kind of create my own sense of self and understanding and identity and everything. Um, One of the most interesting things that I've learned is that when you bring your energy back on yourself, energy that you have previously tuned into everyone else and kind of like invested so much in everyone else, when you bring it entirely back on yourself, what happens is you have a tendency to experience people in a very different way, right? So if people are very used to you investing your energy in them, to form a sense of safety, even though it's not really real, because it's just based around codependency and people pleasing and believing that there's something wrong with you and that's why you have to do that. A lot of people are going to end up, like, literally, when you take your energy back, a lot of people are going to end up being like, what the fuck are you doing? Right? And then what's going to end up happening, there's going to be a whole lot of, you can't do that. You cannot do that. I don't feel safe with that. That's not okay. It's not fair that you're doing that. There's going to be a whole lot of that. And it's just noise, because what you choose to do with your energy, how you choose to invest it, whoever you choose to invest it in, is entirely your boundary, right? So, um, taking your energy back is a very personal decision. It's entirely on you, and you get to choose how you do it or how you don't do it, right? Um, so there can be a whole lot of that. I have experienced that personally. Um, Whenever you don't have boundaries or they're permeable, right? People will definitely place themselves in your life in positions that they're not really allowed to. So when they fill that position in your life, they get very used to it. And then when you take them out of that position, they'll start flailing their arms like a toddler and stuff, like, like they're deprived of something, like you're taking something away from them that you're not allowed to. It's just noise. It's just based on what they've been conditioned by, and that's all. So that's it. You know, it really comes down to that, and that's all that it is. That's all that it's a matter of. But being firm in standing, strong with what it is that you want, and recognizing that it is entirely your choice what like what and who you choose to invest your energy into. Like, that's all that it comes down to. There's nothing else to worry about there. Um, if there was something else that I've learned in this process, it's that, actually, something very interesting that I've learned about, and I don't know if it has to do with individuation. I grew up in a system where it's like what I was kind of like automated into was this idea that you need to go to school, you need to get good grades. Um, it's really like a whole matter of like supposed to. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that, right? And what it really is just autopilot. You become programmed into like a machine automated way of living, right? And something that I've been doing a lot more recently is actually, like, finely tuning my time, like how I manage my time and everything. And what I've been noticing is that, and of course this is going to happen because it's just the way that it is, the program that was running had me investing my time in things that were just unimportant and irrelevant and also outdated to like 10 or 15 years ago, right? Because again, what you're used to will use you. So if there's something 10 years ago that you started doing that you just became very comfortable with, you don't need it, but you became very comfortable with, you try to take that out, right? Part of you is going to be like, oh, what the fuck, right? But another part of you, because you know that you want it better for your future, it's going to be like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. But until you realize the program, until you realize the automation, right? you're gonna continue living the same way, and that's just the way that it is. So that's what I learned, and like when I started like really like putting in like the effort to like change my energy, how I invest my energy, in what and for how long I invest my energy in, right? A, a, a huge portion of the things that I had been previously investing my energy in were just based in comfort, and so I learned that, and it really changed a lot of things for me, and I was really happy about that. But part of this process has really come to show me how manual life is, because it's very manual. It's actually wildly manual. It's just that a lot of people are very comfortable with going to the 9 to 5, coming home. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with any lifestyle. It's entirely, yeah, let me just make it very clear right now. I'm not bashing on any lifestyle. I'm not. But what I'm trying to get people to understand is that life is very manual. And when you realize that, based in foundationally, that means that accountability, responsibility, right? When you put everything on you, that's when you see things differently. That's when everything changes, because that's just the way that it is. It will change that way. And when you finally tune yourself, and you don't just do things because you're used to doing them, or because you feel like you're being pulled in a direction because it's comfortable, like this, that, and the other. Break yourself out of it. And that's when the dynamic changes. It changes everything. And that's when things start to look different, because they are looking different, because your energy is different, because your awareness is different, because your intentions are different, because you realize that there are things about yourself that need to be changed in order to, create for yourself the life that you want. And it's very real. That's just the way that it is. You get to set your own rules in life. You do. It doesn't matter what family you came from. It doesn't matter what beliefs you were raised by. You may have been raised by beliefs of like low self-esteem, and therefore that molds you into these ideas that you're not deserving of anything good in life, because I don't know, your mother or your father told you that you're a worthless piece of shit, and so therefore that really set in concrete a very specific way of thinking, feeling, and living for you. When you step outside of that, when you realize that you were never actually a worthless piece of shit, and you were just being projected on by bullshit insecurities that never had anything to do with you, you take a step out of that and you're like, oh wow, never mind. I can create whatever the fuck I want in this life. This is awesome, right? It changes the perspective of things, and that's a very powerful experience, because then it's like, there are so many things out there in life that are like a crutch for people. And then when you realize that you actually don't need the crutch, it all changes. It literally all changes. Like you're walking with a limp, right? You're walking with a limp. You have a crutch and everything, and you're like, yeah, I was told that I have to live this way. It's just the way that I am, right? I'm gonna have this thing for the rest of my life. And somebody earlier on in my life told me that I was born this way, and I'm just screwed this way. So that's just the way that things are gonna be. When you step outside, that in and of itself is a program, and that's automating you into a very specific way of living, right? When you change your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors regarding everything in life, your entire life changes. So I started disconnecting from the way that, the ways that I was conditioned and how I was raised and everything. I started stepping away from that, and it allowed me to take a moment of just like conscious awareness to be like, wow, just. And then like you like, it's like being in a prison cell that you've always had the key for, and then just finally taking that key, putting it in, and then getting yourself the fuck out of there. It's very simple, but it's not at the same time, because it's very challenging, because we have multiple belief systems that, like, once you get past this belief system, then you go right here, and then there's a belief system right here, and you got to get past this one, and you keep going. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting how all this stuff works and unfolds and everything, and you just got to have a really good understanding for who you are and what you want. That's literally what the process of individuation is about. It's about forming your sense of self consciously for yourself, not for anybody else. So I'm curious what some people come up with. What are 5 things you've learned? What are 5 things I've learned in this process of individuation, right? Some people are completely locked in a prison. Some people, if they were to watch this fucking video, it would actually be repulsive to them because they have belief systems telling them that stuff like this, material like this, is unacceptable. It's very interesting. There are numerous blocks, right? There are so many blockages out there. People are already free, but they don't realize it because, you know, the liberation that is right in front of them is really just on the other side of a wall that's blocking them. That's all that it is. People are actually free. It's just that the liberation that's right in front of them is on the other side of a wall, a blockage, a belief system that's blocking them. So, what are 5 things that I've learned in this process of individuation? Ask yourself.